Thank you, Your Honor, and I believe the defendant would like to address the law personally. And he wrote it, Your Honor, just because he wanted to keep his thoughts straight.
I thought about the Rice family, hurt for them, and wished I could speak with them every day for going on 5 years. I'm so sorry that they had to learn the details of Greg's death in such a public way at Meagan's trial, and that I was the bearer of some of those details. Greg Rice's and Meagan Jackson's 4 kids have become an extension of my family. And knowing how badly, I'm sorry. Knowing how badly they were hurt and that I played a role in causing any pain at all to them is something I'm going to struggle with for the rest of my life. To simply keep saying I'm sorry just doesn't feel right. And I don't know that I can effectively articulate the depth of the combination of love, pain, regret, and compassion I feel for those kids and for everyone who loved Greg. I'm sorry for having any involvement with Meagan. Virtually everything about her is the exact opposite of everything I've ever been and stood for. As embarrassing as it is to admit, I chose to overlook everything bad about her because she was spending thousands of dollars a month on my family, and because she had convinced me that she was basically going to make all mine and my family's dreams come true. In retrospect, it's clear that my involvement with her was founded on deception and selfishness. This led to a snowball of poor decisions on my part, infidelity, and to Meagan having a grip on every aspect of my life. If not for these poor decisions on my part, I know that I would not have been with her on the night of October 2nd, would not have been in the position to be an accessory after the fact, and would not have had any part in causing any suffering to anyone. I heard Meagan say things like, I'm going to kill Greg, and I'm going to kill my kids. More than once, she told me she was going to kill me. She said these kinds of things nonchalantly, and I never took them as a serious threat. I chose to overlook these things and all the other red flags that were waving in my face because of the attributes I thought were good about her, which I now see were only those which served me in some way. I realized that my involvement with Meagan, and thereby this case, has caused some variation of hardship to many, including my business partners, employees, colleagues, neighbors, my friends, my family, and especially the loved ones of Greg Rice. During the years I've spent in jail, I have, with the help of counselors, taken accountability and begun the process of repairing the damage. As for the Rice family, I just want them to know that if there's anything I can do to help them gain closure, I'll do whatever I can do for them, whether that's now or years from now. My heart will always be with them.
And Your Honor, just briefly in closing, I just wanted to address a few more things. One, the letters, and I know that they're not understanding of the law, but with the Rice letters that I just reviewed, and they said that he was permitted to plead to a lesser charge, Your Honor. Mr. Dontell certainly did plead to what he was guilty of. That's something that we had actually been offering to plead to for a while. The negotiations, we couldn't come to an agreement on the negotiations at the time, Your Honor, but we were negotiating with them prior to anybody going to trial. Your Honor, as we presented this case this morning for Mr. Dontell, who accepted the responsibility and the accountability of accessory after the fact, which he was clearly guilty of, and making poor choices. It's important to present those circumstances that led to his involvement and the meaningful steps that he's taken since then to right his wrongs. And that's what I think that we've been trying to do today, is to give you a snapshot of who Chris was, what he was, when he was finally able to get that sense of protection for his family and come clean. At the time of the offense, he was clearly deeply influenced and manipulated by Meagan Jackson, who he trusted, and she took advantage of his loyalty, his immaturity, his use of alcohol to make poor choices. Your Honor, he did not stand up when he should have for all of the children involved, and he knows that. And this weakness has made him live with this regrettable decision. Your Honor, every time I look at this case, I think of all of the things that could have been done if he were a criminal master, even if he wasn't a criminal mastermind, Your Honor, the things that could have been done that would have made this case, for example, using the crematorium, that would have made this case almost impossible to solve. But he was finally able, with risk to his family's safety, his continued reputation, and he finally, in December of this past year, cooperated fully with law enforcement and the prosecution. His testimony was crucial in ensuring that justice was served, especially against Meagan, who was primarily responsible, and the cooperation came at a personal cost. He is continuing to accept the accountability and help correct the wrongs he once enabled. He has shown sincere remorse, in turning his life around. He's engaged in counseling, as you've heard. One of the things that, if you recall, a group of pretrial motions about a year and a half ago, I was demanding to have all of his jail costs, because oftentimes people say things when they don't think the jails are listening. Your Honor, myself and my entire staff spent, I think, 2 weeks listening to almost 4 years worth of jail phone calls. And I can tell you that 80% of those were him talking with his children and still being a father. And I know that is a luxury that he has that the Rices don't have, and he knows that too. And he is still living with that, and he is still combating with that. And he knows that he can't make that right, can't change it, but he can try to make it right from here on out, in his desire to accept that accountability. Your Honor, we understand that this offense was serious, but I think it's important for the court to understand that he was not an architect of this crime. He was someone who made several misguided choices in a terrible situation. He's demonstrated growth, cooperation, a willingness to accept responsibility, and qualities that suggest rehabilitation that he's already started. Your Honor, we are certainly not. We are not just the worst thing we've ever done in life, but we are asking the court to consider a serious sentence over his head that would be suspended to an intensive 5-year period of probation, in a way, because if he violated that probation, then he would have to go back and do all of that time based under the new law, if he were to receive that. So we ask the court to take all of the letters of support, all of what we presented into consideration when making the determination. Justice Kennedy.
Okay, well, will the judge decide? We'll find out after a break. Let's check in with Alan Kagala. He's a criminal defense attorney in Martinez, California. Alan, good morning to you. The fact that his wife gets up there and testifies on his behalf, even after all of the things that he did, and he pled guilty, what's your take? Let's start with does her testimony matter in the judge's mind?
I think her testimony was incredibly powerful. For her to get up and say that her husband, who had an affair, who did all this stuff, that he is ultimately still a good person, that is a very, very unusual thing, and I think that largely had a very big impact with the judge.
Yeah, we'll see. What about him pleading guilty, not going to trial, testifying against his co-defendant? Your take on how that will factor into the ultimate decision by this judge? He's facing up to 20.
I'd say those are definitely very helpful mitigating factors. I know he was a crucial part of that trial. He testified against her. I think that was quite helpful in the conviction. The hard thing here, though, is like, you know, he helped in the killing of someone who had 5 children. The judge is probably there with the family of Mr. Rice, potentially with his kids in the audience as well. That's something that the judge can't ignore, and I'm pretty confident he's going to reject the defense's request for 5 years of probation.
Yeah, that seems ludicrous on its face, but you go for it and you hope it comes somewhere in the middle.